We will explain how to create items in your database. Click the New button, and a dialog will show up asking you to select an item type. This part is really important to understand. There are three types of items. We have the active-passive, which you should use this type for all the print processes like printing and lamination machines, like the overall print, for example. The passive, this type is used for all your print materials like PVC or lamination film, for example. And then we have the active. This type should be used for processes that don't require a material like trimming or a product like a display. The item configuration is very critical for the entire process and for the program to function right. The good news is that once you create a couple of them, you can reuse them and just change the name. Let's show a print item, an active-passive. A overall print, for example. If you want to search it from the list, you simply put here UV and it automatically shows up. As we can see, there are various fields. In the code, you simply establish like a name like PRT, which is print process 001. And name, you can put the name of the machine. As we can see, there are various fields in order to give a name to the machine, depending on whether it is an invoice, a quote, or a portal name. We will introduce the same name in all the fields except for the node name, which is the phase or stage in the printing process. For this example, we introduce process. We change the machine type to overall print. We first edit it and we change it in this menu. We select the machine type. It has to be the same as the one in the description. Therefore, the item matches with the machine type created in admin. So we go to the admin menu, machines, and we find it here, which is the overall print. We finish it by pressing the edit button in order to save all the information. There are some fields which can be marked or not, depending on its criteria like ignore commissions or active. This one allows you to activate or deactivate an unused product. In the documentation checkbox, you can store the documentation regarding the product. In the base price, you should put the cost of printing 1 square meter without the material. You should calculate electricity, ink, or machine, for example. In this case, we establish a price of €2. The only type which need a more in-depth explanation are methods. Let's see an example. We go to Methods tab. We create 3 new methods like backlit, double-sided, and normal. In the backlit method, you insert 100% ratio in the field rate, as it requires 2 passes and the amount of ink used will be the double. For the double-sided, we checked the front and back checkbox. It's important to highlight that if you introduce measures in the margins, it will not be taken into account while calculating the quotes. Finally, the main checkbox is the default method used by the machines. We will denominate it as normal. To create another machine, we can do this by copying and creating an item and modifying the required data. We just press the copy button here and we just insert the data. Now let's see an example of a material, a passive, like PVC canvas. We go here and we establish PVC and we select PVC canvas. It has the same fields to name the material in different ways, depending on whether is it an invoice name, a quote, or a portal name. We will introduce the same name in all the fields except for the node type. In this case, we'll introduce material. As we can see, the buyer's price is of €0 because it is a material, and therefore our cost will be the price at which we buy from the supplier. That is why we need to take into account your supplier price. So we go to the suppliers tab here, and we open the entities doc. We search for the supplier and we will drag it here. A new row is created. There you can insert your supplier price, and also other fields like supplier code and supplier description. These ones will be filled with the code and description of your supplier, and they are really important to introduce. The priority is used to sort the suppliers. The program will use this information to select the ones with the highest priority when calculating the price. In this case, supplier A has a priority number 1 as its price is of €2, and supplier B has a price of €3. It is more expensive, therefore it has a second priority. This program will take it into account when establishing the final prices as well as for the buy orders. The field approved is just for the quality certification. You can order from your supplier a multitude of products with different measures. You should always add measures to an item for two main reasons. The first one is that it allows you to make buy orders faster, and the second one is that it builds a nice database of all the measures an item has available, which will help you in many departments. To add a measure, just go to measures type like we are here, and we drag the supplier like we did for the suppliers tab. We drag it here to the right, and we change the width, for example, to 320 and the height to 5000. The price is also really important to fill in, as there are some materials that cost more in bigger size. We drag again another supplier, supplier A, to create a new measure, this time 500, for example, in the width and 5000 in the height. We establish a price of €3. Finally, we will see the active types like trimmed. So we go here, we introduce trim, we search it here, we select it, and we can see that in this case the node name is finishing. To calculate the price cost, we will need to take into account the complexity of the cut. So we will need to create other cut items like trim 1, for example. If the complexity and the time involved is bigger. Other items classified as active are the displays. We search it here in our list and we put this. We select it. And the most important thing when we introduce a display is that we need to select the uni field. So we edit, we press the bottom here, and we select uni. Since they are unitary products and it is not necessary to introduce all the measures. This is all we need to know in the items chapter.